This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with Violent Gentlemen. And the main man, the Kingdom Warrior, Kevin Cronin's back. How are you, Kevin?
All good here. How are you?
All is sunny in Belfast today. It's nice and it feels like a summer day today. It's like shorts and t-shirt weather, and I think we're all just waiting for the beer gardens to open so we can enjoy a good drink again.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. Same down here. It's lovely and sunny. As you said, beer garden would be nice now.
It would be. I know, obviously, straight after your fight in Luxembourg, you obviously had like a wee week off, sort of thing. I think it was actually mentioned in the Leonard. I think it was like nearly 2 years since you hadn't had a drink. From before. I think from before your debut in 2019, you sort of hadn't had a blowout since. So you needed a wee weekend off, didn't you?
Yeah, like I had. I was meant to be fighting in March 2019, is it?
2020.
When was it? 2020. Sorry, March 2020. I was meant to be fighting over in England, and then the whole pandemic started. Yeah, I was basically training for that fight, and then we pulled out of that fight just for COVID and stuff, because that was when it started getting kind of serious and came over here. So, but since then, I was training, for a fight up until the actual fight in Luxembourg, and I had no more, than, like I didn't completely stay 100% not having any food or drink for the whole year, but we had a day here and there, but like I was training 6 days a week for that, twice a day for the whole, however long I was out, a year and a half training for a fight. So, had that week off was badly needed.
It was, and I was sort of saying to you, I think it was slating you a wee bit for some of the drink choice and stuff you have, and I think you were looking for big kegs of Heineken and things like that, and I was sort of saying it's not the drink to be having.
Oh, stop! I had a keg, about 2 kegs for myself.
So you're able to find them eventually then?
But I ended up finding something. I don't know what Heineken. It was some. I don't know. I couldn't even pronounce it. It was some sort of foreign drink anyway. But it done the trick.
Done the trick as long as it took the taste buds and stuff. Obviously the first fight back in 21 months. You obviously fought in Luxembourg last month. How good was it to go back out? Because like you made your debut at 22. Obviously, then you fought twice quickly around, and then you had no fights again with obviously the pandemic. But how good was it to go back into the ring and sort of remember you're actually a boxer?
Yeah, it was great to get back in there. Very different, obviously, with the whole circumstances behind closed doors, very, no crowds and stuff like that. Kind of like the amateur days, fighting in front of no one really, because there's no crowds really go to any of them amateur shows. So it was great to get back in there, and I just think. No, I was actually saying last day, some of us were lucky to have an amateur background or to have fought in any amateur combat sport really over there, because if you just fought in the professional ranks and you came from not a different background, but if you just came in as a professional rather than fighting an amateur career, it would have been very strange, because obviously all the professional contests, they have crowds, and there's a good atmosphere at them, and then you're going in and you're just jumping into no crowd, all the stairs, your coaches. So I think that having an amateur career kind of played a big part in being over there in Luxembourg, because it was just a bit of experience, It's kind of going back to the amateur days when there's no crowd there. So that helped out a lot.
Does it sort of help to G you up a wee bit? Sometimes you go, it's not always like this, so you sort of just have to keep that one track mind and going, let's just forget about the atmosphere and the occasion and everything else and just do what we have to do.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember all the time, this isn't a spar. It's all I could tell myself, this isn't a spar, this is a fight, this is your career is on the line every fight. And I just had to keep reminding myself, what, just because the crowd isn't here, they're still watching at home, so don't fuck up.
Yeah, and obviously the good thing for you as well, and probably it's probably the only thing I didn't get into my over 3 hour conversation with Leonard was, if it probably wasn't for him, crowds and stuff back home and obviously sponsors and stuff like that wouldn't even have got to see his fight.
Yeah, thank God for that live stream. It was an absolute disaster, though I know something happened with the Wi-Fi over there, but it was that, and it was a pity, because I seen their show like 2 weeks before, and like if you seen the cameras and all that over in Luxembourg, like they were doing the they were meant to be doing the live stream. It was unreal. Like, I could not wait to get in there. There were proper cameras in the ring with you off of I don't even know, like little crane things,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, this is going to be class for the people at home to be watching. And then next they came into the dressing room, and I was already togged off, and we were wondering what was going on, because there was a delay. Next, they said streams off, and I was like, oh shit. Next, and I didn't even have my phone on me. It was in my gear bag, and next, and they said, oh, we'll go live in Boxing Ireland. I said, all right. Next, and they kind of kicked me 5 minutes there. Shit, people back home, are going to be just looking at this screen when they're trying to stream. So I ran and grabbed my phone, and I just said, right, I don't care. I just turn on my internet, put up a quick message. Boxing Ireland promotions will be going live on Facebook, and that was it. And look, thank God they went that happened, because it would have been such a pity after being out of the ring that long, and then getting back in the ring, and then for no one to be able to see it, and for me to have if I didn't even have any footage of it myself to watch back on, and see what I'd done good and what I should have done better and things like that.
And obviously the Luxembourg show is probably more on sponsors, obviously helping to get fights as well. And if they can't sort of see footage, they don't know if you've done good or done bad, and they go, well, I didn't even get to see your fight, so maybe I'll not sponsor you next time and stuff as well. So probably in some respects that's sort of helped you in the way that Leonard did go live, because otherwise, you might be coming to your next show and going, right, he's sponsoring me again, and nobody's going, well, sure, did he even fight? You might as well just went to Luxembourg in the drinks. We didn't see any footage.
Yeah, 100%. For all they know, I didn't go over and fight if there was no coverage. I could just be anyone robbing them, like that. But yeah, look, there's again, sponsors are huge, and especially in these times, because like screaming, there's crowds and stuff there. I mean, you bring a crowd up, you can call it. The promoters look at the crowds you're bringing in, and then it doesn't cost you as much with the tickets that's being sold for it. So yeah, the sponsors are especially behind closed doors. Like a few people have asked me, not asked me, but said to me, just kind of jokes, you're making the money, you're making. No, I say the same thing to them all. I'm not. I'm going broke over this sport. Like that's all. This isn't cheap. It's a costing game. That's what it is. People think just because you're a pro boxer, you're making money, and just looking at Instagram, like just how positive things are. But most boxers are just positive people, even though they know the stress working up to a fight, between all the costs and the training and making weight. And then people just think, they're getting a nice paycheck for this fight, but that's not the way it is. That's just how positive boxers are, really.
Yeah, but and I know from Caitlin, obviously Caitlin on last week, and I think her fight cost nearly €8,000. Obviously all the costs and stuff involved. So it's crazy when you think on it. And sometimes probably some of these shows during the pandemic might make people realize, whenever, say, you come back to obviously fighting in Ireland, whether it's it's down in Kerry or it's in Belfast or anything else, people's going to support it more, because they're now going to realize, Craigie, these guys aren't making loads of money, and there's not too many boxers probably it's made anything, it probably lost money than anything over the last year.
Yeah, look, as you say, Caitlin Phelan said, what you say, something like 8,000, it's nuts. Like, I try not to I keep track of it, for sponsors and stuff. If I get sponsors money, I keep track of where that goes, because it all has to be kept track of. But like this, it goes in, I dig into my own pocket, I'm investing in my own career as well. But like, I try not to count what I put into boxing, because you know what, if I looked after a camp and seen what has gone into this camp, I'd absolutely be depressed. Like, it's a sick sport.
It definitely is. And obviously, you're 3-0 with 2 KOs. Obviously, looking at your fight in Luxembourg, Boris Mrkonjic, I think a Bosnian. Obviously, I think you sort of said afterwards that he was looking for a way out. I think you put him down with a right hand, I think, was it? And he obviously went on his left side, and somehow seemed to hurt his right shoulder. And the sort of card in itself sort of was, there was nearly something happened in every fight. So, like, I think his corner and stuff, I think, were they looking for like a no contest and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's I think, there was very inexperience. It was very noticeable from the start, the inexperience officiating, the refs and the judges. And there was my guy was Bosnian. I think they had 2 or 3 fighters on the card too, and they had copped it from the first fight. You know how inexperienced the refs were and stuff. And I think they knew if they make enough noise, they might be able to scare these officials into, rushing into a stupid decision like a no contest, even though someone was put down with a punch. That's a TKO. If they pull out in the corner because it all gets too much for him, whether he was injured or not, I don't know. I didn't see him fall on the shoulder, but I don't know. Like, that's a TKO. The injury came through punches. It'd be a different story if I need him or if I headbutt him, or our heads collided or something like that. That'd be a different story. But when it's punches, it's a TKO, and that's it really. But yeah, it was all. Look, I got the TKO. I'm not going to go on about it, but I think it just got too much for him, and I think it was just looking for a way out then. So I think it was just grab the shoulder.
Pretend there's something. Does it help you more sometimes when an opponent does look for a way? Does it sort of make you believe sometimes more in the potential you have, where you're doing damage to an opponent and they then say, for instance, fake an injury to go out of it, that they just don't want any part? Does that G you up more and they go, I'm actually better than I think I am, if opponents are having to look for a way out? Yeah,
well, look, I think with people, I've basically said it the whole camp. Every interview I've done, everyone I've talked to, I've said it. That I needed to move to a 6th rounder because I get going in the 3rd and 4th round.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was fine in my range. I eased into it in the 1st round, kind of started putting on a small bit of pressure in the 2nd round, and then really put the pressure on in the 3rd round, and then he retired in the corner. It's like, it's not a shock to me. I could see it coming because, like, I think if anyone looks back or if anyone can remember, I've said it all along. The 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th round, I'm coming. Like, I come like a train, and that's exactly what happened. The 1st, 2nd round went, and then I came on the 3rd, and they pulled out in the corner between the 3rd and the 4th. But yeah, potential wise, it's nice. It's actually probably better for your confidence to see someone retiring in a corner, than actually knocking someone out, because then you see that you're doing damage, whereas you could be behind in the cards and you could pull off a clean punch and that's it, game over. But it's nice to be able to see that you're just outworking someone.
Yep. And are you back in the camp now, sort of keeping yourself sort of loosely going, hoping to get fight news? And I know obviously Leonard has been planning the show and it just hasn't been announced because everything hasn't been sort of dotted I's and crossed T's sort of thing, but is obviously the potential to sort of get you out again soon.
Yeah, we're back into camp, kind of easing into it now, not going too heavy from the get-go, because obviously I'm out in June. There hasn't been a venue yet. I'd love to be Ireland. I hope it's Ireland. I know there's talks going on about it, but it could be Europe as well. I don't have a clue where it's going to be, but I haven't been told yet. Don't know this exact date in June, but I've been told I'm definitely out in June. So I'm in camp now, and the minute they say to me, the fight's in Dublin, the fight's in Berlin, the fight's wherever on this date, that's when we're really going to put the shoe down and just start tearing through the gears in the camp. But yeah, we are in camp anyway, getting the fitness back up. Not back sparring yet. I think I'm going to get back sparring either Friday now or Monday. So that's really when it starts, when you get back sparring, things like that.
And you're sort of keeping yourself trim and stuff as well, so it's not like you probably have shed loads of weight and stuff to lose. You've kept yourself very active, obviously, the last sort of 2 years, and keeping yourself as much as possible within it. So probably in some ways it'll be an easier camp sort of this time around preparing, because there's not weight to lose. It's more probably on tactics and what you're going to do in the fight.
Yeah, look, thankfully my weight didn't balloon up like it usually did. Obviously my body's kind of getting used to sticking around a bit lighter from, I suppose it's probably my body just got used to it from actually training throughout that full year and a half. Mm-hmm. But it didn't. I stood in the scales and I expected what happened to me after every fight. I could take a day off, or I could take a few days off, or I could take a few weeks off. But every time I stood in the scales, after a fight, I'd blown up to 93 kgs. It was always the weight that I'd just go to, and I'd stop at 93, and that's where I used to be. And look, I stood in the scales the last day. I was delighted. I was like, nice, over a stone down from 93. I didn't. My body's obviously getting used to adjusting to being down around this weight. So yeah, it'll make it a bit easier cutting weight and things like that. So that'll be a gift. This camp, I don't know how easy it'll be, to be honest, because I've actually got a couple of weeks before June. I've got 2 weeks in away training for the fire brigade. So that's going to be, it's going to be, I hope it won't affect the camp too much, but it's not going to be the best thing that could have happened a couple of weeks out from a fight. But we're looking into some coaches and things where we're going training. So hopefully we'll find a couple of coaches and a few gyms that we can train in for them 2 weeks. But it shouldn't make that much of a difference. It's just a couple of weeks out from a fight. It's the last thing I want. But we'll get on with it and we'll get over it.
As long as you've nearly gloves in a bag somewhere, as long as you're keeping sort of yourself active, I guess that's the main thing.
If I can't find a gym, I'll find any space, 8x8 space, and I do a bit of shadow box and then go for my runs. And surely, be the God, there's going to be someone around there to spare. So
hopefully he'll be well. Obviously, probably the only disappointment from obviously Luxembourg was Dominic, obviously your teammate and clubmate and everything else with Jonathan. How's Dominic been taking sort of things from the loss? From what I've sort of seen at post, he seems to be sort of staying upbeat and staying positive. Have you sort of as a team sort of had to remind him, you're probably better than your performance. Should have had the win, but better than the performance he had. So I know he wants a rematch as well. But how's Dominic feeling?
Look, I'd say Dominic's good. Dominic knows his potential. He knows he can still go far. He'll get his rematch. He'll defeat this guy because he's not going to take him for granted. Things like that. He's good. What's a loss really? A little setback. The minute he gets a rematch and defeats this guy, he's back where he was in line to fight for these titles. He's good. He's better than that. He just had a bad day, and that was it. There's no more you can say. I spent my camp sparring with Dominic. He was boxing very, very good. He was sparring good. He was sharp and everything, and it was just on the day. That's it. That's how boxing goes. Look, we've seen people lose fights and go on and win world titles. We've seen people lose their debuts and go on and win world titles. So, just that loss means nothing. The worst thing you could do is make a bigger deal of what it is. Like, it's not a big deal, and it's just people can make it a bigger deal. That's about it. He'll get his rematch. He's a positive person. He'll get his rematch. He'll work hard in the gym. He'll win the rematch, and he'll go on. He'll fight for these titles. So Dominic's good. He'll be grand, and he'll be back in there.
Have you got him spending the money since Luxembourg? Has it sort of changed? Has he been able to find his wallet since?
Nah, he'll never spend money.
But I know obviously Dominic himself is, he's always sort of positive, and he'll always ask you what you thought and things after the fight, so he can sort of learn things from it. He's never going to say he's a world beater straight away, but he'll work hard to get it. So he's staying positive, after the defeat, and sort of going, I'll get my revenge against him, and then we'll be back to where we are, and probably learn something on his defeat.
He works hard. He works hard. He works in silence. He's like, that's the way he is. The first thing he said after the fight was, let's get a rematch. There aren't many people say that. Some people go all low and sitting around for weeks and not training, anything like that, and might come back in 6 months in and fight somebody else, try get their confidence back up. That guy didn't knock the confidence off him. He just knew he had a bad day. As I said, like, the first thing he said was, let's get a rematch for this guy. So he knows he's better than that, and he knows he could stop that fella if 100% Dominic. If Dominic was 100% in the ring there, he could stop that fella. But look, it's grand talking. I know what he'll do. He'll get his rematch and he'll defeat that fella, and then there's exciting times ahead for him. Do you know what? If anything, it made the times even a bit more exciting for him. It adds something to it adds something to what's already going on there. Between all the light middleweights, and that there's all them lads in line for title, and this adds a bit more fire to it.
Yeah, because I know that obviously the fight seemed to be nailed on with Eddie Tracy for obviously the Celtic title. Obviously the defeat that Dominic's had now probably may, everybody sort of has a weakness sometimes in boxing, and sometimes they may have seen where he hasn't done something. Whereas if he could have took an easy one, say in Luxembourg, got the win in the Eddie fight, something may not have worked in the fight. Whereas it's sort of back to the drawing board. Let's work on the few things we've seen as mistakes, make them right for the rematch, and then probably better off going into the Celtic title fight. Then they sort of go, I'm actually better prepared now than I probably was.
Yeah, and like the thing is, like people can talk, but Dominic didn't need to take a fight either. He didn't need that fight. Dominic was in line for the title. He was active. He didn't even need to fight anyone. He could have just sat down and answered the phone in a couple of months and fought for the title. But he didn't do that. He wanted to stay active. He wanted to continue to get a new style in front of him to test himself. And now he's got his test, and he gets to go work on when he needs to work on, and come back and show he's improved in them bits. And as you said, yeah, look, something might happen in that fight. It could happen in a title fight that now he'll be ready for, which he mightn't have been ready for, if he didn't have that fight. So there's so many positives you could take from his fight. He just, once he gets his rematch and the win, he'll know all that.
Yeah, but he's back to normal. Sort of looking at like a light heavy division, it seems to be that obviously everybody's sort of active now. You've obviously Joe Ward and Tony Browne obviously defeating a former world champion a few weeks ago and stuff as well, and obviously yourself and obviously Rhys Moran obviously lost on obviously the same night as yourselves in Belgium, but he'll know he'll come back as well. But
like that's another one. Like that's just go away. He'll work on what he needs to work on. He'll come back. He'll get the win. There's no doubt there either. Just people. This everyone nowadays, they're gone so obsessed with this. Protecting your undefeated record. But then it's like when people lose their undefeated, and like I'm here talking as if I have a loss on my record, but it's just from looking from the outside. Like it's like people's careers actually take off when they get their loss, because they're not worrying about that anymore, if you get what I'm saying. But again, yeah, look, he's a great boxer, a great amateur career. He'll come back and he'll defeat that guy and then on to better things again.
And it's like, sometimes probably you would say, probably yourself, Kevin, you're probably, your role's going to come at some stage. You're going to lose it at some stage. So if you're preparing yourself to know that it may come at some stage, not that you're planning for it to happen, but if it does happen, then it's not going to beat you up. It's something that, they always have these things where they say there's things that's certain in life and things like that. In boxing, potentially at some stage, unless you're Floyd Mayweather, you're going to go your whole career undefeated, but at some stage it's going to come. So you're sort of preparing for it. So when it does happen, what you have to learn from, or maybe just beat with a better man and go, right, well, now it's time to go again.
Yeah, and so like most of the time, you're going to learn more from a loss than you would from a win,
You definitely will. Obviously, in terms of, it seems to have went a bit quiet and sort of the call-outs, it doesn't seem to be as if there's any sort of back and forth with you for anybody at the moment. Do you think now that they've seen you back in the ring, maybe potential people who are looking at fights have sort of kept quieting down, or is it just that you're just not responding to any of them?
Maybe. Look, you know what? It was easy with no fights coming up to be getting involved in all these things, but I'm back active. I have another fight in the pipeline. When I was in line, when I was going fighting that fight in Luxembourg, who would I have been, to be having a back and forth with someone, and then you have the guy over in Luxembourg, absolutely, licking his chops, just saying, this guy's, he's looking ahead of me already. I'm gonna stop him here now, in his tracks. So that's the way I am. Even if let's say me and Taylor are having a back and forth, the minute I get fight news with someone else, good luck, I'm blanking you out. You can talk all you want. All my eyes are on my next opponent. So obviously now, as I said, I'm back in camp for June. So my eyes are on June. And after that, then we'll see again. I don't know who they're going to offer me a fight with in June. That's another thing we'll have to look into, and I'll see what comes to the table. But yeah, look, I don't know what to say about it. It's just gone quiet. That's the way it is. Look, everything's gone quiet. We're fighting behind closed doors. When crowds are back and everything, all these fights are going to be, happening in front of crowds, and all these good 50-50 fights and domestic dust-ups. It's going to be good fun when the crowds are back. And they'd be very boring fights to have behind closed doors anyway, to be honest with you.
And obviously the good thing is sort of, when boxing does sort of return properly, you'll have had a few fights back. Everybody's going to be having shows, so you nearly probably in some ways feel like a journeyman, because the phone will be ringing red hot, because they'll need people in certain divisions going, do you want to fight with such and such? So it's not like in 2019, probably when you first started out, it was sometimes harder to get fights, whereas everybody's been doing shows everywhere. You probably have shows 7 days a week in the UK, because they just need to get people out and get them active. So once you get the fight over with in June, you'll go, well, if I stay ready, I can get another fight here again.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I'm staying active. That's the way I'm going to be. I talked with Stephen Sharp. I talked with Inner Gunning. I talked with my coach, Chano. And look, I said to them, we're back now. It's time to stay active. I would just want to keep these fights rolling, keep winning, keep testing myself, keep timing them rankings. And, I'll get myself in good positions then for good title fights. And obviously, I want that Kerry fight too. So, that'd be, you mentioned call out to Indigo, that'd be one for, a fight like that, that'd be, imagine the atmosphere down in the INEC Clarny, let's say me versus Taylor McGoldrick or something like that. But until then, my eyes aren't on that. I got to keep winning. If I had my eyes on an INEC fight with someone and I went in thinking about that in June, again, if I get stopped in my tracks, and that's it. That's that gone out the window. So I take them as it comes. Yeah, when crowds are back, look, I can't wait. I think like I wasn't really known going into my debut, and I think it's mad because I just had my third fight, and it's like everybody knows me now. It's like I built more of a career for myself over the lockdown. Somehow, I don't know how, I was just being myself, but looking good following down here as well. So the future is exciting.
I think for yourself, you're probably one of the most active people would see, obviously posting, you're posting obviously pictures, you're posting videos, you're keeping active with it every day. So in some ways, probably the success of people knowing who you are and the following sort of growing is down to probably the hard work you've done through social media. You probably haven't even realised.
Yeah, maybe not. But look, I got to keep posting anyway. And some people always say to me, like friends of mine, the garden age, about posting. But I've got lots of fans out there. And if I just give up on putting any pictures up, putting up any posts about what the future holds and all that, if I just stop posting, let's say I have a couple of fans in England or America or wherever, they're not going to know what's happening. For all they know, I've retired. And all of a sudden, they're not fans anymore. So you got to keep people updated.
And I'm going to sort of leave on one final one. I'm sort of disappointed you didn't use a song for Luxembourg.
I was disgusted, and I was listening. I had a Bluetooth speaker over me, and Dominic's head must be ringing. I'd say he was in the same room as me, and the song mustn't have came out of his head. But I said, I can't wait. This is finally found my song. I can't wait to walk out to this now. Next thing, got to the venue, and we were there, and the DJs and whatever it is, the crowd that were doing all the recording were at the table. And I said, I suppose it's still my kind to say, should I just tell him my fight now? Because I said, I'll tell him now, because when I was in London, I forgot to tell him about about a song. Mm-hmm. And we were literally standing at the walkout, and I was just waiting to be ring announced, and someone came running up to me, and they were like, what's your ring song? You never gave us a ring song. I was like, oh shit. But so I went straight up to the table, and I said, yeah, Disco Land Jerison. And next thing he goes, oh no, we picked the music for you. And I was like, what kind of a shit show is this?
It's always
I was depressed. I couldn't wait. It really get me up for the fight now.
But I say it's always the next one to sort of look to, and 2 months, probably about 2 months down the line, sort of hopefully June still sort of goes ahead, and the travel restrictions have sort of been put in, because I know the Celtic Warriors show been sort of postponed from May. Hopefully the time we get to June, things are returning to normal, because probably for the next few weeks, probably Leonard and Stevens probably pull another hair out, going, when can we book flights? When can we get things in motion? Because, there's a lot of hard work goes behind planning the show. And if they can't sort of plan from now, it is only going to probably delay getting the venue and everything else sorted.
Yeah, and another thing is England's, well, it's not back to normal, but it's opening up and things like that. And England was actually always a place that I was saying, I wanted to keep fighting there. I wanted loads and loads of fights in London and places like that, because I said, there's such an Irish following there, just give them something to watch. So London was a place I wanted to build myself as well. And let's be honest, it's basically the home of boxing right now, in the world. So that's a place you need to build yourself as well. But that seems to be kind of opening up a bit. So hopefully, who knows, maybe in 2 or 3 months, that might be completely open and maybe fights can happen over there. I hope so anyway, because and English people, they are all, they love boxing and they're very, they don't just go and shout you on. They really, really judge you. Because I remember when I was walking out in York Hall, it was so eerie. People, they weren't really cheering you out or anything. They were looking you up and down, judging you, and as you walked out. And even the first round, bar my own, fans there, and they were all kind of in the one group. Bar them, everyone else was just so quiet, and they were all judging you. And then, obviously as the fight went on, they seen, he can actually box. He's good. Then they start getting behind you. So I like that as well. I like when people say they don't like being judged, but I like that. I like the way they judge you, and then they're your fan at the end, so you've done a good job. If you're getting people excited about you like that. So anyway, as I was saying, hopefully the way England's opened up, hopefully the things over in England and up the north can start going in the next couple of months, because I'd love to get back active as well over in London, because unfortunately only having one fight over there, I'd love to have 4 or 5 fights over there by now, because it's a place I want to build myself as well.
Yeah, definitely. But Kevin, obviously, we'll thank you obviously for catching up with us again. It's hard to believe it's 2 months and a day since our last interview, and obviously, hopefully in 2 months and a day's time, potentially obviously be fighting again and another one on the record. So we'll obviously let you go back out and enjoy some of the sunshine. I think your other half says you have to cut the grass today and do a few things about the house. So we'll let you get back to it to obviously save you from getting told off when she comes home.
Nice one. Look, thanks for having me. And look, hopefully that this next fight in June, well, hopefully it's not behind closed doors, but if it's behind closed doors, let's just pray. I can see it being the last one, and I hope I'm right. I don't think there'll be any more fights behind closed doors. I think crowds are going to be back surely after this next one. And you know what? I can't wait for it. Even if it's going to be Belfast or somewhere, if it can't be in Ireland, if it's going to be Belfast, I can't wait, because you know what? We'll have the buses rolling up the road, and I can't wait for it.
Definitely. But listen, thanks very much for catching up again. We'll catch up again soon.
Nice one. Thank you.